Hey guys, this is Mrs. Frazier. We are going to go over your inequalities foldable, so make sure that you have this from your teacher today. Also, make sure that you have a pencil to write with, and make sure you have your notebook or someplace to put your notes. If you are in Ms. Frazier's class, you're only going to just write the title at the top of your page. You do not need to cut these pieces out. Other classes, please follow the instructions of your teacher and what their expectations are for your classroom. Okay, so we're going to look at the example given to us. 2x minus 3y is less than 12. Okay, and we're going to go through each step that we need to go through to graph this inequality, okay, and to shade to represent the inequality. Okay, so step one. Let's try this. Step one, okay, is to actually determine the boundary line. And we're going to do that by solving for y. Or put it in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so I have 2x minus 3y. 2x minus 3y is less than 12. So I need to solve for y, so I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So I'll be left with minus 3y is less than 12 minus 2x. Okay, continuing solving for y, I'm going to take my coefficient and I'm going to have to divide or multiply by negative 1/3. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. Now do not forget that there is a golden rule of inequalities that you should remember when we did inequalities at the beginning of the year. What happens when you divide by a negative? If you divide by a negative, you flip the sign. So you're flipping the inequality symbol. Okay? If you divide by a negative, flip the inequality symbol. Okay, so we're going to divide by negative 3. So I have y left on the left side, and now my inequality symbol is no longer less than. It is now y is greater than, because I'm dividing by a negative 3. My 12 becomes negative 4, and my minus 2x is going to be plus 2/3 x. Okay. And I can rewrite this. It doesn't have to be y is greater than negative 4 plus 2/3 x. I can do y is greater than 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, y is greater than 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, so we have gone ahead, we've solved for y, we've determined what our boundary line is. Now we need to determine if the boundary line is going to be solid or dashed so that we can graph it. Okay, so let's talk about solid and dashed. If you recall when you learned about inequalities and you learned to graph inequalities on a number line, you should remember that when you had a solid circle, that meant less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. Well, if you have a solid line, that's going to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. A dashed line, which is going to be like our open circle when you graphed it on a number line, is going to be less than or greater than. Shading above. Okay, if you shade above the line, you're going to have a greater than symbol. When you shade below the line, the less than. Okay, and we'll get to those in just a minute on how we shade, but for now you can just put those in there, and you should have caught on to some of those as well, and we'll prove that in a minute why that is so that you can understand that a little bit more. Okay, so I've got the greater than symbol, so I know I need a dashed line because it's not equal to, so I don't want a solid line. So I'm going to go ahead and graph -4 as my y-intercept, and then I'm going to graph my slope of 2/3. So it's going to go up 2 and over 3. And or I can work backwards down 2 and to the left 3. Okay. And my line is going to be dotted or dashed. Okay. Okay, so we've done our first step of solve for y. Oops. Our second step is to determine dashed or solid. Okay, and now we're going to go to step 3. Okay, so we've gone ahead and actually graphed. We determined dashed or solid. We graphed our line, so that's step 3. Okay, and now step 4. Determine which region. Determine where to shade. Okay. Okay, so we need to determine where to shade. So remember, the easiest way to determine where to shade is to actually put a point into the solution to figure out what would make this statement true. The easiest point to always put into this situation is 0. So I'm going to come off to the side here, and if you have space somewhere else, go ahead and work it. But I want to show you why 0 is going to be the easiest. So your origin is the easiest point to prove choose. So I'm going to come over here. I've got y equals, or y is greater than. I'm sorry, I'm so used to y equals. Y is greater than 2/3 x minus 4. I'm going to plug in 0, 0. Okay, so I have 0 is greater than 2/3 times 0 minus 4. And when I do this, 2/3 times 0 becomes 0, and I have 0 is greater than -4. Is this statement true? Yes, it's true. If it's true, that's the direction where I want to shade. If it was false, I would want to shade in the other direction. Okay, so to determine where to shade, we're going to plug in a value. A XY value. Okay. And then your last step was actually to shade. And once you shade, you're finished. So this here represents y is greater than 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, so this foldable should be finished. Make sure you have it in class tomorrow to complete your assignment.